Sometimes it's not about what you know, but who you know. My name is Nathan Savage. I am CEO of Devslopes, and in this video, what we're going to be talking about is all the questions I've been getting about how do I get a job. And what we're going to specifically be referencing is Reddit. There's a massive thread on Reddit that shows all the individuals who have been laid off. And I have found that, man, it is time for me to step up here and really start making content about this. I've been working with a large portion of small to medium-sized businesses in my career, and I'm now working on the opposite side by training and preparing individuals specifically in tech, software engineering, and soon to be the marketing aspect, the career that I'm from. And what I have found more than ever is we're entering a really strange time. And the strange time is everybody feels like the system is rigged against them. Nobody wants them to win, and that everything is just downhill. And that's just not the fucking truth. The truth is, at the end of the day, for you to have success nowadays, there's a handful of principles. From what I found, there's 3 key principles. Number 1, you need mentorship. You need an individual who's walked in those same shoes, who has had that success. I would consider myself that mentor for the vast majority of people watching this video who are going through this. Number 2, you need the ability to earn income while you're learning. If you're going through a process right now where you're trying to make a career transition, or you're trying to learn a new skill, if you aren't capable of earning income with that skill prior to getting a job, you're never going to be able to get a job in that aspect, right? No one wants to be the first person to take a guess on a new hire. It's very risky. And finally, you have to understand the core concept of employment. And that core concept is, it is not what you know, it is who you know. That is just the truth. The vast majority of people that I've hired here at Devslopes are people that I've met through jiu-jitsu. Ironically, it's the truth, right? I got to meet a lot of great people, and they didn't even have the skills, but I was willing to take a risk on them and invest a lot of time and energy into them. For that purpose, I've invested well over, at this point, probably $300,000, and not my learning, but the learning of employees here at Devslopes. And so while I go through this entire process, I'm going to cover my transparent truth. I'm going to walk you through everything that's happened within Devslopes and the advice I would give the vast majority of people who are in these layoff situations, or they're looking to make a career change, and how to make it much more pleasing and realistic and manageable for you as you're going through this process. Now, before I do that, I'm going to give you a quick time lapse, right? Started Devslopes in about 2018 or so, and we did about 200,000 that first year. We grew to 400,000 the next year. Third year, we did about 1.2 million. And fourth year, we did 7.6 million. We grew out of this world. We had no money raised behind us. We had $19,000 in the bank account, and we grew so fast. Unlike the large portion of the competitors out there who had a large portion of money put behind them. We didn't have any of that. I didn't come from that world. I don't know how that works. Now, let's take this a little bit further. Last year, though, we did great, 7.6 million. And this year, we're probably going to do less than that. We had a big step back. And I've had to let go of a lot of people. A lot of things changed. Our comp structure for salespeople changed all the time. It was beyond frustrating, right? We let go of 1 or 2 instructors probably during that time period. It's been painful. Last week, we had 3 people leave the company. We're not done with problems. But what I can say, the process of layoffs is a sensitive one. And I believe that I have one major benefit, and it's my ability to be transparent and comfortable talking about the really uncomfortable things, right? So as I start going through these things more and more and more, there's going to be times where you don't like me. There's going to be times where you say, Nathan, that's bullshit. How could you say that? It's unfair. What are you saying? I don't really care. I'm going to give you my 10 cents, my genuine thought process with what's happening. And guess what? I think like a CEO. I'm being mindful, thinking of the bigger picture. And a lot of the times, when you look through the comment section, I've learned something. These are individuals who don't know what is happening. They love having their 10 cents, but they're completely detached from reality. And the problem is, these are the people that you're mind melding with, right? That you're speaking to. And you think their opinions matter. They shouldn't. These people don't know what they're talking about at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and transition to this. As somebody who has grown a business, hired a lot of people, and had to let go of a lot of people, right? Some of those people end up leaving with decent severance packages. Some of those people got nothing, right? 3 people last week, they didn't get severance packages, right? We're in a tight cash crunch. I'm comfortable saying that. And so what you're going to get when you speak to me, whether you're a small, medium-sized business owner, right, or you're the employee, you're going to get the honest feedback. This video is dedicated to the employees. I have future videos dedicated to the business owners. So in this one, let's look over to what we have right here. So I transition over here, And we're going to be looking at this individual. He's been laid off twice in the last year. The job market is unbearable. And is anybody else feeling this sense of dread? Right? So he says, I'm earlier in my career. He's 28. He's dealt with a handful of layoffs in the past year. So 2 layoffs in the past year. Long story short, I can't seem to pick a company where they don't lay people off. I was up for a promotion in my last role, but was cut off due to layoffs. I work in tech sales. That's a key thing to keep in mind. And it's so hard to move up. And I was finally there. I feel like now I can only get jobs where I'm overqualified for and dread. I feel like all of my work over the past 3 years is for nothing. Which is interesting, misspelling it, had to start where I began. I feel so frustrating. None of my friends and family really understand how bad it is. And continues on. Only interviews I can get are for new grads and unlivable pay. I'm doing the right things. I'm networking in person / LinkedIn. That's different. Reaching out to hiring managers, recruiters, leveraging my personal and professional life, all these things. How are most people navigating layoffs? So, the first thing I really want to address here, there's a lot of people who are in these same shoes, right? They were laid off. They're looking to make their next big transition. And we first have to address one of 2 things. If you were laid off or you're looking to make a career transition, you are not getting hired for one of 2 reasons, right? Number 1 is skill. Number 2 is visibility. Skills, right? You're not getting hired for skills. That means that you don't have the skills. And unfortunately, a lot of you need to look in the mirror and have a really hard conversation with yourself. Do you have the skills that you think you have? What I have found is that a large portion of people who want to work in sales, right, who maybe have been in it for a couple decades, and especially people who are young and new, they fall prey to the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? They're brand new. Confidence is at an all-time high when it shouldn't. Their skills are absolutely horrible, right? I have 2 sales reps right now who are really promising, right? High energy, not great at it yet. High energy, they're willing to put in all the time and effort, so they're willing they're worth the investment, right? It makes a lot of sense. They're hustlers. It's good to put time and energy behind them, but it is incredibly common for people who are new to sales or new to any industry who are only 3 years in. That's not a lot of years, right? If you're struggling to get a job, that is because number 1, you don't have the skills, right? Or it could be number 2. Number 2 is how we mentor all of our students and show them how to get job placement. And the reality is, if you were going out there and your way to get jobs is to apply to 10 to 15 jobs a day, it's a decent strategy to get interviews. But it's meaningless. And I love to tie all this back to dating. If you were going about trying to get a job and your way to get said job is to apply to 10 to 15 jobs a day, right? It's the equivalence of walking into any room and walking to every single pretty woman and just saying, hey, my name is Nathan. Do you want to date me? Hey, my name is Nathan. Do you want to date me? Hey, my name is Nathan. Do you want to date me? Hey, my name is Nathan. Do you want to date me? It'll get contacts. I'm sure you'll get a couple responses, but unless you're drop dead gorgeous, you're not going to get any responses, right? Because it's meaningless. It means nothing. So here's the approach that the vast majority of you would have a massive benefit from. You need to take a big step back. You need to think about, what do I bring to the table? Okay, so you have your skills. The next thing is values and principles, right? Who are you? Are you Christian, right? Are you a far left-leaning person? Are you Democrat? Are you Republican, right? Who are you? What are you interested in? What are your hobbies, right? Do you love guns, right? Do you love sports? Do you love activities, right? Do you love dogs? What do you love? You then want to reverse engineer this. This is literally how I teach our students how to go out and network with actual people that matter at companies they love, with people who have similar backgrounds to them, and how they say, hey, my name is Nathan. I just started XYZ program. I don't have a job yet, but when I look at you, you're someone who came from the exact same background. I would love to have 5 to 10 minutes if possible, because when I look at myself and I look at you, you're living my dream life. I would love to know, how did you make that transition, right? It's absolutely insane. How did you do it? And guess what? People who followed in your exact same shoes, people who made it, like to help people that made it. It's part of just the rules for society. You pass forward that support, right? So what you do is you take your skills, or the skills you're developing, you then find companies that you value up with closely. This is how we do everything here. This is part of our career coaching. You have to find the companies that you would be not only a great employee for, but you would be the best employee. Because not only do you have the skills, but they love who you are because you tie into the company like this. You are a perfect fit for them, right? You're going to preach why everybody needs to use Chewy for their dog services because of XYZ reason, right? A great example of this is where I get my dog food from. It's called Bully Max, I believe, right? I love the company, love the guy that does it. He supports a lot of big dogs. It's just a cool company. I support it a lot, right? So I only buy my dog food from there, right? If I wanted to get into software engineering, I would go try to find as many jobs as possible dealing with most likely jiu-jitsu or something like that because I love jiu-jitsu. I'm going to talk about it all the time. What you want to find is what we call interest alignment. Your interest, values, and principles align with your skills at a company who's doing something like that. If you aren't doing that, you're not going to have that success. Just throw out the window of thinking you're going to be successful. You never will be, right? So the individuals who are having layoffs, unfortunately, most of the time, they're window shopping. They're going to apply to everywhere. And if they hear back from you, they just are going to have a terrible first interview. Their first interview is, so man, Nathan, tell me about yourself. Why are you interested in joining us? I like the idea of what y'all are doing. It seems like you're doing some cool stuff, and I want to be a part of it. Huh. I think we're doing some cool stuff. Tell me more. What do you like about what we're doing? I just think education is important. We can move forward. Okay, so you did no research. You actually don't care about us. I just happen to be the one idiot to respond. That doesn't make me feel good, right? So just like in dating, right? No one wants to be responded to as just like, oh, you do want to talk to me? Great, let's talk. No one wants that. No one wants that reactive response. You want employees who are proactive. And unfortunately, right now, this is just the truth. Don't kill me for being the messenger. The past 3 years, right, especially since COVID, it turned into an employee environment where employees set all of the circumstances. I want this, this, and this. There's nothing you can do about it because this is an employee market. Guess what? It's moving back to a business market. The unemployment rate is skyrocketing, right? More people are being let go. Credit card debt is skyrocketing. It's not looking good for a large portion of us. So guess what happens? That means you can't pick and choose where you want to work. Guess what happens? You have to put more effort and energy into getting that job. And unfortunately, for a lot of you, that job hopping you did over the past 2 to 3 years, it's going to bite you in the ass right now. It's unfortunate truth, right? So if you want to stand out, the way that you stand out, interest alignment, and understanding it's not what you know, but who you know. You want to find 3 to 5 people within that company who have the exact same background as you, right? And one of the best ways you could do this, by the way, is going to ChatGPT. Genius idea. You go on to ChatGPT, tell it all of your interests, what your skills are, and look at companies that hire typically people with no background experiences. That's your way of getting your foot in the door. That's how you do it. All right, so let's transition back over here real quickly. So we move over here, right? And you see here just a lot of people, layoffs happening across the board, right? How long before getting laid off will your boss depart? Man, it's just a big bummer. Zoom laid off. We'll go over here. Chewy come off. They laid off about 220 people, involving roles in engineering, development, product management, and supply chain operations. Chewy addresses the layoffs, stating that the restructuring aimed to streamline operations and focus on prioritizing would yield significant customer benefits. This is something that we're going to take a moment to address real quickly. So, the way businesses operate, especially within the economy, it's very similar to if you're talking about the fitness world, cutting and bulking, right? You have a season of growth and you have a season of cutting. This is just like nature as well. This is one benefit of capitalism. In its purest form, it should represent nature. Now, there's a lot of massive companies that have the ability to lobby, pay no taxes. I understand that, right? That's a different conversation. But for the vast majority of your small to medium-sized businesses, their growth and failure, right? Their growth and diminishing returns are going to happen over the course of the economy. So the economy is doing great. They're going to grow. Now, what happens as they grow is their margins will start to shrink. Their profits will start to shrink, but their top line revenue is going up. And they're working off this mentality, if I could just optimize. Yeah, I know that our margins went from being 40% to 25, but our net revenue is so much higher. Our gross revenue is so much higher. If I could just optimize around this, we're going to make so much money, right? And we're worth so much more now in the first place. Our EBITDA is higher than it ever has been, right? Earnings before interest and amortization. So they're really happy. They're making more money, even though it's a smaller portion of it. Then something like a recession hits. The economy starts to scale back. We saw this in about August of last year when interest rates raised with the Fed. What happens, that's when companies start firing people. Now, unfortunately, Devslopes is one of those companies, right? I held on to a lot of employees way longer than I needed to. I had compensation structures for the entire company where people were getting paid insanely more than anywhere they would else be in the environment, right? No, they wouldn't have been able to get jobs anywhere else, right? We had people who making $200,000 that were playing Call of Duty for 3 hours a day. Just it is what it was. I wasn't a great CEO at that time, just point blank. I had a lot of mistakes, right? But that's what happens. As success gets higher and higher and higher, what happens with that? You start overlooking things. You overlook things. What happens when they overlook stuff? Efficiencies start to drop down. So you become bloated. Guess what happens when you get bloated? You start failing. You start failing. You start failing. And then you have to have a massive cutting phase where you learn how to be optimal again. And then eventually you will start to bloating. It's inevitable. It is the way business works. It's inevitable. It is how life works, right? So we see this in hunting, right? When an animal is walking around starving, it eventually gets a kill. It doesn't eat to where it's just it's no longer hungry. It's going to devour everything, right? It's going to consume an ungodly amount of food because it doesn't know when its next meal is going to happen. This is the cycle. So what you see as a side effect of this cycle is exactly what we see here. By addressing the layoffs, it's stated that there's restructuring aimed to improve and streamline operations and focus on priorities that would significantly improve customer benefits and optimal business returns in the upcoming year. So here's the problem that happens when businesses say stuff like that. Even though it is the truth, you have a bunch of comments like this. In fairness, this legacy means. I saw somebody make a handful of comments on managers. Okay. Did you get good severance packages? Talking about somebody that was there for a long time. It's a long time at one company. Some guy who's at a company for about 30 or 40 years, I believe. It's stupid management never realizes the expertise they lose when firing legacy employees. They're high performers. These type of comments, I really want to emphasize this. There's an old saying. Do not listen to somebody that you would not want to live their life. You got to understand, you don't know what the vast majority of people's lives are like that are on Reddit or any other areas who are giving you advice. The vast majority of their advice is absolutely fucking horrible. You should not be listening to them. But here you are, right? The individuals who are always talking about how management is terrible and they're the worst. And trust me, the vast majority of managers are really terrible. But you also have to understand, they see things that are happening that you will never see. You're not privileged to that information, right? So we over here. It's, medical field, almost life, through a roof. That's why I got my degree in nursing. Nursing's a solid degree path, actually. Since right now, ageism is real. Yeah, well, this individual's, I mean, these are all 40-year-olds, and they're speaking about a 20-year-old who just got laid up. It's kind of strange. So, the point that I'm really getting at here is if you want to make that transition, and you don't want to end up on these Reddit forums, the unfortunate truth is you need to listen to what I just said. Number one, you need to reevaluate your skills. Are your skills at the level that you truly need them to be at to have success? Number two, are you finding companies that you have interest, value, and principle alignment with, right? Interest alignment. Is it there? And number three, are you following the principle? It's not what you know, who you know. And learning how to network with the people that can actually help you within those companies and asking them how they made their job transitions, how they were able to get that job, if they had any recommendations. That is the path to getting everything you want. The unfortunate truth is very few people are going to do that. It's a lot easier to sit around, submit 10 to 15 proposals a day and call it a day. The reason why what I just said is such a more effective approach, but so much more time consuming, is because it shows preparation. It shows drive. It shows ambition. It shows want. It shows passion. The only way you can show those things is by putting in an ungodly amount of front-loaded time, right? So instead of spending all of your time trying to just apply for an ungodly amount of jobs, you're only going to be able to apply to maybe 10 to 15 companies in this scenario versus hundreds. but you're showing your ability to stand out in that interview process by putting in ungodly amount of work on the front end. This is your proven roadmap to getting a job in 2023 and onwards. That's it. If you do those things, you're going to have success. Again, my name is Nathan Savage. I'm going to be talking about these things much more often. Right? I have found my expertise is really mentoring small to medium-sized businesses looking to hire marketers, software engineers who are wanting to develop their first MVP, maybe even entrepreneurs who want to launch their first app or business. Especially, I help out those employees who are making that career change, who understand that they have to develop the hard, soft, and self skills to be able to make that career transition. All of the content here is going to be about that. And it's going to be about my direct business dealings within Devslopes and throughout my entire career. It's the most transparent, honest to God shit that you're going to hear around. Really strange verbiage to use there, but it's the most honest stuff that you're going to see. Right? I have nothing to flaunt, right? I have no crazy Rolex to show you, right? I have two-door watches. They're nothing crazy, right? I don't have a Rolls Royce. I would love to have one. It's not going to happen for a while. I don't live in a massive mansion. In fact, I just downsized from a 6,000 square foot house to like 1,100 square foot apartment, right? Because I needed to. I had to take a big step back for the company to really get where it needed to go. Guess what? A lot of our staff had to take 20-30% pay cuts. I took about a 70% pay cut, right? So I moved in here. I'm going to get everybody back where they need to, and I'll put my stuff back. I think it's important for you to know who the mentor is that you're going to be working with really closely over the next several years. I consider myself to be one of the foremost leaders in showing individuals how to go out and get jobs, how to learn new skills, how to grow their marketing and their offerings. I consider myself one of the top individuals in the world on that. And the way I'm going to prove that is by helping everybody that watches these videos ruthlessly time and over again. And like I said, you're going to hate me a lot. The vast majority of you might say I'm detached from reality, all these amazing things. I can't wait. I think it's amazing. It's going to be a really fun time. So first off, thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. Apparently, my editor said it's important. And don't forget, if you're looking for any help making career transitions into the tech world, specifically software engineering, or soon to be marketing and advertising, like that creative world, at Devslopes, we're trying to create the next generation of problem solvers, creatives, individuals changing the world, the movement starters. That's what we want to do, right? And we believe that that's possible through mentorship. The principles that I just talked about are the principles that we're using on a daily basis. So if you want to learn how that's possible, you can go to devslopes.com, look for the apply button, wherever the fuck that is, just click that. And I run all of our calls specifically on freelancing and all of our Dream 100 career coaching as well. And specifically leading the marketing program. My CTO is a fucking genius, Peter. He runs all of our software engineering. So hopefully that helps you guys. I'll see you on the next episode. Talk soon.